What are some of the examples you've seen where social media is being used effectively in schools?
I'm a great fan of social media in schools, and partly I think because it's where the children are already and where the parents are already. So straight away, some of the most effective practice has simply been schools being in better communication with their parents and their children, teachers being able to praise their children's excellence because they know it would only be well received, but it'll be well received in a place that is owned by the children. Something about having those nice comments in your Facebook status that are pretty cool. But I'd honestly say the best careers work I've seen in my life has been in Facebook this year. Looking at folk being invited into a closed community, status updating, talking about what a day in their life is like, children watching, pages, screeds of stuff, real insights into the working world of somebody in Twitter. I think some of the best history, I've seen fabulous history. There's something about the ability to trickle information. I was watching a diary being tweeted from, this was a great-grandfather's diary from the First World War, being tweeted day on day. And you kind of get to know the chap, and then, of course, he gets gassed and died, and you feel, golly gosh, you feel the bereavement as he goes. So, I think young teachers are picking up social media tools, doing extraordinary stuff with them in a way we've never seen before. And it's not hard to get the kids in because they're there already.
What about some examples where social media is being used ineffectively?
My mantra with all this is that the devil makes work for idle thumbs, So where schools think that they've banned mobile phones. I mean, I was in a school the other day, said to the kids, we'd done this quite complex diagram. I said, whip out your phones, take a picture. And they said, we're not allowed phones. And I said, oh, bother. But you've got them on you, haven't you? And they said, oh yeah, so they were sort of whipping them out of their bras and their pants, they've got them hidden all over their bodies, and they took the photograph. I said, well, what do you do when the school confiscates your phone, realises you're using the phone? They said, oh, we're all carrying a sacrificial phone. I got one of my dad's old phones in my pocket, There's whipping out these old rubber-keyed Nokias, So, so the most ineffective use is where schools think they're on top of it, and by banning it, and actually they're not. There's a whole subculture of good communication running underneath, but because the school ignores it all, none of it's to do with the curriculum, and that's absolutely fatal. A good practice is get your phones out, turn them on, put them on the desk. The teacher can see that they're all on, see where they all are, and then if you want the kids to take a picture of the board, use them for data capture, do a soundscape of the school with a decibel meter on their app on their Android or whatever. I mean, it's all just ready and at arm's length. The bad practice is all about schools deluding themselves, really.
What advice would you give to a school leader who's contemplating incorporating social media into their school program?
I've said a 1,000 times, I think, and apologies if I've said this to you before on YouTube somewhere or wherever. None of this is hard, but it is complex. And for sure, if I was a school leader, and probably I'm worrying about things that might go wrong, I'd say three things. Firstly, turn on your common sense. If you were trying to do water safety with the kids, you would not keep them away from water till they're 14, then throw them off the pier and hope that they swim. You would work with them on establishing sensible behaviours. Secondly, social media is not a magic other kingdom. I've seen schools with sort of 15-page acceptable use policies, which just seem to me to miss the point completely. Acceptable use policy is only ever one sentence. It says, how we do things around here. Online isn't any different. Bullying is bullying, rudeness is rudeness, inappropriate behaviour is inappropriateness. Online, face to face, it doesn't matter. You know what the sanctions are. You know how we behave, and that seems to me to be, And I think for school leaders to realise that, the cyber world is not any different to the face-to-face world. Really, really important. But the third thing I'd say is, find a couple of young teachers or one of your wise old owls at the end of their career and say, okay, you have a go, find out what the other schools are doing, because there's loads and loads of schools doing really good stuff now with mobile phones, with social media, with, and with YouTube and goodness knows what else as well. Find out what they're doing. adopt their best practice and build a policy for your class, and maybe if it works for your department, and maybe if it works, and then anybody in the school wants to have a go, can have a go. Don't wait for everybody to get on board, don't mandate it for everybody. You will always have teachers who say, look, I really don't want phones in my class. I was taught by teachers who were proud of the fact they didn't have a television set at home. Teachers are different. We need teachers to be different. So, but your starting point is what have the others found to be effective and safe and sensible. Just crowdsource that. Use Twitter, use Facebook to find out what the others are doing.
From your perspective, what do you think we might see in the next few years, and that it's going to be attractive to education?
Social media changed pretty rapidly, and yesterday's friends reunited and Second Life and so on is today's Facebook and Twitter, and tomorrow's tomorrow. So I think things do move. The insight, I think, is threefold. Firstly, if you think about the kind of me, we, see, schools have been very good at me, my work, my artwork on the wall, my triple mountain, my exam certificate, my parents' evening where my parents come to talk about me. We haven't been very good at the we bit, and children in social media are clearly doing the we bit. There's that sense of collegiality and mutuality, and I think that will grow for sure. I think the sense of exhibition is very, very important in learning. If you can't exhibit and celebrate, then how do you value? And social media hasn't been very good at that. I mean, the sense of audience you get in YouTube, you put stuff up. It's not quite the same. You put something up on Facebook, lots of people comment. You put it up on YouTube, you watch the counter go up, but it's not quite the same. But I think the missing dimensions are key to learning, and they will appear. I mean, one is narrative. It's very hard. The internet's been pretty poor at narrative. That sense of let's tell a story through. Every teacher's a great narrator. Successful children do narratives, successful businessmen, successful parents. And the internet gives you snapshot moments. It's sort of now. I can't look back on the websites. I've built websites since 1993. I've got no easy way of looking back on them and building a narrative of how we move forward. And I think stronger narrative will emerge for sure. And I think threading will, the ability to jump from one place to another and join them up. If you're a science teacher talking about fragility, talking about, you're talking about shrapnel here, you're talking about Bakelite radios shape, you're talking about the wings on the Comet aeroplane being round and metal fatigue. You've got a whole lot. You just want to build that thread through. You haven't really got those tools very well at the moment. And I think probably last of all, most importantly, is annotation. As a teacher, I'd love to be able to say to my kids, watch that television program, and as it runs, my little post-it notes appear on the screen. I was saying, heads up, look at this bit, look at this bit. The ability for a small community of us to look, a class of learners, to look at the whole web of knowledge out there, but with our annotations on it, it's quite exciting. And to see those historically is quite exciting as well. I used to like getting an old textbook because I could see what had been written in the margin by boys in my school who had been ahead of me. I thought, well, he did pretty well, I'm going to read his comment. So that it's time and the ability to make your little micro contributions. That's going to change a lot, I think. It really is. But it's all bringing it closer to learning. It's not taking it further from learning. But you want to dip your toes in. You want to be there now. Otherwise, when all that happens, the train's left the station and gone, and you're just waiting for the postcards back. That's not so good.